Hey everyone, Sean here with BlueRidgeSilverhound. Welcome everyone. Today we're going to take a look at some coins that sold on great collections the weekend before. So the weekend of the 6th, this was actually a suite of various modern era coins, all from the same collection that I wanted to personally highlight because it was actually a really nice little collection. Now, there were no other items from this particular collection, and actually it's called the East Dakota collection of U.S. era coins. Altogether, there was probably about 20 coins. We got the top, I guess, 13 out of the bunch that I wanted to talk about. There were a few others as well that, if you sold for like a few $100s here and there, but it's worth noting that most of the coins on the list are obviously from the modern era of U.S. coins, so anything post 1900. And interestingly enough, because I've talked about a very specific type of coin that if you're able to find any sort of error on it is worth quite a bit of money, and those would be the Bicentennial coins of 1976. You guys have probably heard me talk about Bicentennial error coins on my Pocket Change Market Report in some way or another. I usually bring it up maybe once every few weeks because, the narrative is true. Even some of the more minor type of errors that you could find on these coins actually brings a lot of money because of how collectible the respective coin is. People consider it to be kind of like the earliest form of a circulating commemorative coin before, say, the statehood quarters and all that. So you're going to see actually a very, very attractive mix of bicentennial era coins in this particular collection from East Dakota. And again, these are all coins that sold on great collections the weekend of February 6th. If you wanted to, you could go check out the other coins. But hey, we have all of the major ones here in this video. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at them. And surprisingly, a few of these have circulated. Which you will see. It kind of blows your mind, like, hey, how did this, go through a lot of various hands and eyes without it being pulled out a lot sooner than it did? And that's a really good question. But, I guess you have to be the inquisitive type that really enjoys coins. Some people see it as just money that they could use to buy their next coffee or, their next book at the Barnes & Nobles or whatever, But yeah, it sure is a pleasure to have you guys on. Sorry for the long drawn out introduction. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 13 coins on the group, which, by the way, in total for these 13 coins, we come in at over $30,000 in value. Surprisingly, to be more exact, $31,226 is what we're looking at here. All right, so this first interesting coin here is obviously a bicentennial. It doesn't even need a date on the coin to actually know what it is, because when you look at the reverse, it's very unmistakable. You do know that this is a bicentennial Kennedy half dollar. Now, go ahead and take a look at the label. This one was actually referred to as a Uniface obverse. All right, so this one probably most of you have never even heard of, but I'm going to go ahead and give you the kind of like the numismatic definition, all courtesy of errorref.com. If you're not if you don't have this particular website bookmarked on your phone or computer, you should really do that. It's a give you just the lowdown of every conceivable US Mint error, from the strange to the usual. But a Uniface, by the way, this is what's called a full Uniface strike. Occurs when a planchet is perfectly centered over another planchet or coin and the two are struck together. This error is also known as a full indent. All right, so when you have two coins stacked on top of each other and they both get struck at the same time, you're going to have one coin that's going to have a full obverse, but a completely blank reverse, kind of like what you see here. That would also be called a Uniface as well, or a full Uniface. So it'd be cool to have like the pair, but what we have here is just the one coin where you actually have just the reverse on there. It's quite an attractive coin. This one grades out NGC Mint State 63. Surprisingly, it has an ME in the grade, which I've never personally seen before. I don't know what that means. So if you plan on asking me, more than likely I'm not going to have an answer for you right away. But very interesting coin. And yeah, I think probably something like this was pulled out of a sealed mint bag of other Bicentennial $half. Back in the day, you were able to pick up bank bags of these things, in their original canvas Fed Reserve Bank bag. And oftentimes you're going to find some pretty unusual errors out of these. Now, they don't do that anymore. We're in 2022, and it's been quite a long time since the U.S. Mint had ever issued these canvas bags with all of the coins that they send out to the Federal Reserve Bank and to the armored car companies for packaging. But normally you would find strange stuff like this, and probably most of the coins on the list is how they were originally found. But yeah, this is a pretty cool one here. This one ended up selling for $590.62. Okay, so we have another Bicentennial here. This time we have a Philadelphia minted Bicentennial Kennedy that was struck on a 25-cent planchet. All right, it also weighs out at 5.5 grams, which is standard for a quarter. This particular example graded NGC Mint State 62. 62 is such a peculiar grade because that's the type of grade where sometimes the coins have circulated very little bit, but they exhibit more than enough fair amount of luster to keep in mint state status. But yeah, this one right here, it's a mint error that speaks on its own. This coin was inadvertently struck on a planchet made and intended for a standard U.S. quarter. As you can see, a lot of the devices are cut off all around the edge. So you can see half a Liberty all the way around, including the date, but you can tell that it's got the dual date on there. And you also have the same attributes on the back as well. So a lot of the main edge devices are cut off at this particular coin. Now this one right here sold for $1,040.62. The coins I have listed aren't in any particular order. They're just in order of how I found them on Great Collections. But yeah, another good one right here. And this is, by the way, a business strike coin. All right, so this coin looks a little bit familiar. For those of you that follow my Pocket Change Market Reports and watch it, there is actually an example of a Eisenhower Dollar. I don't think it was a Bicentennial. It was either like a 72 or a 73 Ike Dollar that was off-center, about the same spread as this one. Now, PCGS has this one graded as Mint State 63. It's also referred to as a Type 1. You can see the block letters on the reverse there, which indicates that type. And it's they have it pegged at 3% off center. Normally I would see stuff like this and say, yeah, it's about 5%. But okay, we'll use 3% because it's on the slab label. But get this. This one, same coin here, sold on my last Pocket Change Market Report in the neighborhood of like $26. And I had mentioned in that video that any sort of U.S. Mint error on an Eisenhower Dollar is going to be very coveted. I don't know the specifics of when that coin that I highlighted over the weekend did sell. I think it was probably late in the evening or early the next morning is when it ended. So that's probably why the final sale price was so low. But let this be a lesson. If you're able to find these, don't just haphazardly sell them. I would say this might be a good coin to get sent off to grading. I would probably use more than likely NGC because it's going to be a more palatable rate to kind of consume. It's not going to be near as expensive as grading an error through PCGS, where it would cost $65 for that, just for that attribution. But this is a really cool, very, I would say very minor error. And surprisingly, I found a few of these back in my early days. I would say back in like 2001, 2002, where coin collecting isn't nearly as progressive as it is today. So it was easier to find stuff like this at face value. This one right here ended up selling for $289.99. All right, we've seen these ones before, and I've talked about it on a number of occasions, but here you go. Here's a 1951D Lincoln wheat cent that was mistakenly struck on a era-specific silver planchet intended for Roosevelt dimes. As you guys know, it's a 90% silver planchet that was originally used for those dimes, and yeah, the planchet errantly made its way into a hopper full of penny blanks for 1951. But this is pretty cool right here. It's always awesome to see these. They're not particularly rare. I see them come up on the marketplace probably more frequently than you realize. This one, take a look at the grade. This is the one that I thought was kind of like, wow, this one actually circulated. It's a PCGS AU58. All right, so I don't know how this thing was spent. I don't know if it was used as a dime or if it was used as a penny and people thought that maybe it was plated. I don't know, but it definitely saw some use in commerce back in its day. This one right here, in spite of its grade, actually sold for a decent amount of money. $2,317.50 is what this one hammered at, and I think it's just a really interesting coin that has a little bit of history to it. Now, we do have a couple Mercury Dimes that I think are just really neat looking. How about a 1926S? Yeah, we actually have a full mint mark on this one, but check that out. This one is an 8% ragged end clip. So this is a byproduct of a just really bad planchet that came from the end of a strip. And usually those end of strip planchets are going to be pretty rough on its own. But this one right here, I've actually cherry picked similar coins like this about 20 years ago. Again, back when coin collecting was at its like bottom, price of silver was a few bucks an ounce. You could easily cherry pick stuff like this, and I would imagine, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I think a few of these probably ended up in the smelter during the Great Recession. That's when silver jumped up to $50 an ounce. I'm pretty sure a lot of you remember that. But a lot of very interesting error coins probably got melted during that time. And I'm pretty sure there were some silver kind of like ragged clips like this that at first glance looks damaged. All right, I will say that. This looks like a damaged coin, but if you know what you're looking at and you know what you're looking for, you could certainly take advantage of a nice flip. This one right here, because it's a 26S, it made sense to grade it. If it was a much more plentiful date, like a 44 or 43, I probably wouldn't even need to grade it and just sell it as is. There's going to be coins on the list that, in hindsight, you don't need to grade. Just go ahead and sell it, take good pictures of the coin, put in any details that you need to put in there, if it's cleaned or if it's damaged or what have you, and just realize the full potential of the market as a raw coin. And again, it costs $65 to grade this through PCGS. This one right here ended up selling for $1,102.50. Yeah, it says mint state 63. It doesn't look like it. It looks like more of an AU kind of grade on this one. Now, this one's neat. I would say that this was probably bought early on. Off-center, obsolete type coins are actually not quite that scarce, but finding one maybe in a specific date and mint mark might be. This is a 1917 Mercury Dime. It's struck off center about 15% per the label there. It grades out PCGS Mint State 63, and it's got some really nice toning. A lot of what I consider to be original skin, kind of like, it's not the most attractive toning, but it's a coin that was unmessed with. It wasn't dipped or anything like that. It's the original, just kind of built up age of the coin over the course of many decades. Again, Mint State 63 is what PCGS put this one at. And this one ended up selling for $517.50, which compared to the previous coin, I think this was a screaming bargain. The 26S, I think, got a little bit more cachet because of its date. It's a little bit more tougher date to find, any sort of error. But this one right here, you can't really argue with this one. It's a really nice coin. All right, so we got some spiciness. I don't know how else to put it. These are a few Bicentennial quarters, and I love each and every single one of them. Now, this one looks absolutely wicked, but let me go ahead and tell you a little bit more about it. It's a 1976S. It's a San Francisco minted proof Bicentennial quarter. This one was actually double struck on a 5-cent planchet, so it was intended for a nickel, and you can see some of the devices are cut off. Most noticeable on the reverse. It also has clash dies, and you can see that quite a bit on the obverse of the coin. But all in all, this thing has a lot of things that's just going on with it. Multiple errors. It's a proof coin. There is that, which any error on a proof coin, regardless if it's a bicentennial coin, is going to be highly coveted. This one right here is a proof 66 cameo. So even through all that mess, it does have a little bit of cameo frost on there, kind of like the additional icing on the cake, no pun intended. But this one right here sold for $1,575, which is a really nice solid sale. And here's another proof Bicentennial quarter. Again, this is a 76S. They all are. They were all produced in San Francisco. This one, however, was struck 45% off center. I think this is probably one of my favorites out of this group of coins from the East Dakota collection. It does exhibit clash dies as well, and you can see that on the obverse there, right in front of I guess Washington's throat and his eyeball. You can see it in the fields. This one grades out proof 64, and it does get ultra cameo designation on there. The frosting is just worlds better compared to the previous coin. Of course, when the coin's double struck, it's pretty hard to retain all that frost. But this one right here, just a beautiful coin, and this one ended up selling for $1,912.50. The big one out of the bunch is going to be this one. This one singular coin. Now, I told you, all the coins together, cumulative, sold for $30,000. This one coin right here encompasses 1/3 of that amount. So what do we have here? It's a 76S. We have another proof coin on our hands. Bicentennial quarter that was inadvertently struck on an already produced 1969S Lincoln cent. So you can see, especially, it's very noticeable on the reverse. You can see the kind of like the shadowed silhouette of the Lincoln Memorial. And in certain areas, you can see like states and E pluribus unum right here. So apparently you could see the date on this one because they did peg it as the 1969S Lincoln cent. We could see "In God We Trust" here from the host coin. But yeah, this thing is pretty nice. Again, it's a proof bicentennial quarter. So it was a coin intended for a proof set. And this one graded out proof 65 red. And they did put in the red designation because the host coin was a copper 69S. What else can you say? This is such a magnificent coin. These particular type of errors have spiked quite a bit. I've seen them go up as high as like 50-60% just in the last 5 years, and that tells you a lot. This is a very popularly collected error type. This one ended up selling for $10,518.75. All right, so we have another bicentennial proof, this time a Kennedy half dollar. Now, this one right here is another 76S. San Francisco Mints sure did make a few boo-boos somewhere along the line, and don't even ask me how these got out. I'd like to kind of be more optimistic about it and say, yeah, they were found in proof sets, and they could have been. I don't know, but I'm sure a lot of these were discovered at the time of issue because there was so much attention brought onto this 1 year type kind of like commemorative coin set. And so it stands to reason that if one did leave the mint, and let's not be naive here, folks, people were collecting coins in the 70s. It was probably one of the more well-collected decades in U.S. History, I guess, of coin collecting. But this one right here was struck on a 5-cent plan. Obviously, a way smaller planchet intended for nickels. Instead, it was a Kennedy half dollar. It turns out it's a bicentennial. It says silver. So this one was originally supposed to be one of the 40% silver Kennedys, and it turned out it wasn't. It weighs 5.1 grams is what a nickel weighs. And this particular coin sold for $2,475. Just a ton of value in these bicentennial eras. And there, I kind of proven my point with these listings. Wow, this thing is magical. Now, it's not a bicentennial, so it's going to be a lot tougher to decipher what this date is. As a matter of fact, it says no date on the PCGS label. But this is a Kennedy half dollar that was struck on a copper 1 cent planchet. So we could make the determination that this is a pre-1983 Kennedy based off of that particular bit of information. This one grades out PCGS Mid-State 64, red brown. I'm pretty sure that this was either A, found in a Kennedy half dollar sealed mint bag, or a Lincoln cent bag. I would say probably either or. You would find this in either one of those. It's a 3.1 gram weighted coin because it is copper. This one, I already told you the grade. You don't need to know more about that. This one sold for a pretty steady Eddie $3,487.50. Really cool coin. Okay, so I'm not going to lie, this is probably my favorite out of the bunch, only because it's ironically has a lot of transitional parallels. So this is a 43p. So you can see the large mint mark on the reverse there above the dome at Monticello, which means that this was a nickel that was supposed to be a 35% silver manganese composition, all right? So the coin obviously looks a lot smaller. So what do we have here? This one was actually struck on another 1 year type kind of coin, and that's a 1943 zinc coated steel cent planchet. So a really cool kind of like crossover effect here with this coin, where you have a coin that was supposed to be a silver nickel was instead struck on the only 1 year type zinc coated steel planchet. There's just a lot to love here. This is undoubtedly my favorite out of the bunch. And get this, it graded Mid-State 63 full steps. Yeah, you heard that right. This coin here has full steps on there, which kind of adds a whole new, I don't know, dimension to it, more desirability. It's going to be unlikely that you'll ever come across one of these again. Again, I've been doing this YouTube shtick for 12 years. I've been in the coin industry, even as a dealer part-time, for over 25 years. And this is the first time that I've ever seen this coin. So I was probably more than a little surprised that it did only manage to sell for $2,256.75. This looks like a $10,000 coin all day long, but I think that's more my opinion than anything else. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the East Dakota collection with this beauty here. And yeah, this is my birth date. If I had the means, I would have bought this. I'm not going to lie. This is just a magnificent error on a coin where you just don't see too many errors, and that's the Eisenhower Dollar. 1978, this one was struck 40% off center. This one has a few pedigrees. This was originally a Harrison Phillips collection piece before it got gobbled up by the East Dakota collection. Will we see any more East Dakota collection pieces here in the coming weeks from Great Collections? I don't know. I kind of think that it was probably a one-time shot. I don't know how much bigger this collection could be. But yeah, this is a really nice way to end off our video here. This one ended up selling for $3,150. I wish I had that kind of money, but unfortunately, the tax man cometh, and we have to contend with that, like we all do, right? But that's what happens when you sell a lot of stuff on eBay. You have to kind of answer to that and make sure your ducks are in a row. So, yeah, maybe another time I'd be able to afford something like this, but it's good to see stuff like this. It's great to kind of chronicle a rather modest collection. Now, $30,000 isn't chump change. It isn't. That's a pretty good amount of money. It's life-changing money for a lot of people, but I could honestly say I've seen much bigger collections sell in the past that go into the hundreds of thousands, into the millions. So this was kind of like a nice, really, really good change of pace to see like some ultra modern type coins, especially those Bicentennials, show up the way they did. But that was a lot of fun. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Would love to hear your thoughts. Did you have a favorite in this particular video? Again, that 43p nickel is just, that thing is lights out. That's a favorite of mine. So that's going to go ahead and do it for this one. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that bell for instant notifications. I appreciate you guys. Love you. Thank you for all the views. As always, you guys rock it out. But that's it, guys. Until then, we are collecting together, my coinaholics. So I'll see you guys on the next coin video. So long.